was driving south on US 93 in Nevada around 2 a.m. No traffic for miles. Just me, the road, and the kind of silence that makes your ears ring. Desert highways at night feel like you're driving through space. Vast, empty, echoing nothingness. My cab hummed, the dashboard lights blinking softly in the dark. I had a hot coffee in the cup holder, my playlist low in the background, trying to keep the drowsiness at bay. Then I saw him. A pale child, maybe 8 or 10, standing on the shoulder. He wore a light blue windbreaker, a school backpack strapped tight to his shoulders, and in one arm, a plush white bunny. The sight chilled me, not just because he looked lost or out of place, but because he didn't move. He didn't blink. He didn't flinch as my 80,000-pound rig thundered past, the wind nearly knocking me sideways. My pulse spiked. My hands tightened on the wheel. I checked the rear view, heart pounding. Nothing. No child, no bunny, no backpack. Just empty black desert behind me, stretching endlessly. I kept driving, the knot in my chest growing tighter with every mile. 3 weeks later, I made a mistake I'll never forget. I'd been hauling freight all day, cross-state shipment heading down into Arizona. Just past Pioche, fatigue hit me hard. My eyes burned, my bones ached, and when a blue metal sign appeared ahead on the side of the road, Silver Vein Rest Area, 2 miles. I didn't think twice. I'd driven that stretch dozens of times, never seen the place. But exhaustion clouded my logic. It was late. I was alone, and rest stops, even creepy ones, always feel like a brief return to civilization. So I turned in. The lot was lit by flickering floodlights, the kind that hum and buzz and make everything seem just a little more unnatural. A rusted-out van sat in one corner, its windows pitch black. No movement, no sound. The rest of the lot was empty. I parked far from the van and climbed out to stretch. The desert was unnaturally still. No insects, no wind. Just that dry, choking silence. Then I saw it. On the bench in front of the restrooms. The same bunny. White, dirty, worn. It sat slumped over like a forgotten memory. And beneath it was a drawing. I picked it up with shaking fingers. It was a child's sketch. Messy, crooked lines, but unmistakable. A semi-truck with the same blue cab as mine, the company logo. Even the trailer number was right, and beside the truck, a stick figure man, no face, holding the hand of a child. I turned the paper over, hoping for answers. Instead, I found only smudges, ash, or soot. Something moved in the corner of my eye. I snapped my head toward the van. Still no movement, but now I noticed something different. Small, wet footprints trailing from its side, leading toward the restrooms. Tiny, barefoot, unmistakably human. I didn't want to follow. My instincts screamed to get back in the truck and leave. But something about the bunny, the drawing, it pulled at something deeper, like a forgotten guilt, clawing its way back to the surface. I followed the prints. Each step echoed too loudly. The building loomed ahead, squat and silent. The men's restroom door was half open, and inside, humming. A child's voice. At first I thought it was a radio, but as I stepped closer, I realized the tune was being sung, slowly, sweetly. Twinkle, twinkle in the dark, find the boy who lost his spark. Under wheels he went to sleep. Now he waits in silence deep. The humming stopped when I touched the door. Inside, the bathroom was dim. Lights flickered overhead. One sink dripped steadily. The air smelled of rust and mildew. Empty, except for the last stall. Doors shut tight. Feet dangled below. Small, muddy. Frozen in place, I whispered, "Hello?" My voice cracked. No reply. They backed out. Didn't turn my back. Heart hammering, breath shallow. I rushed to the truck, slammed the door, locked it. Turned the key. Nothing. Dead. No lights, no sound. Not even a click. Then I saw him. standing in front of the truck again. The same child, same bunny. But now he was crying. Except the tears weren't water. They were thick, black, like ink or oil. They streaked down his face like something rotting from the inside. He raised one hand and pointed directly at me. His lips moved slowly, forming words I couldn't hear. Then he disappeared, just vanished into thin air. I turned, gasping, and jumped. Someone had knocked on my window. 3 slow, deliberate taps. I looked, no one there. But written across the foggy glass was a single word. Remember. I was done. I grabbed my phone, trembling. 1 bar of service. I called the sheriff in Pioche, told her I was at Silver Vein Rest Area and needed help. Silence. Then her voice. Sir, that rest stop's been closed since 2007. Condemned. After a trucker ran over a child there and disappeared. Is this a prank? I almost dropped the phone. I turned to look again. The van. Gone. The footprints. Gone. But the bunny was now sitting on my passenger seat. I didn't stop driving for hours. Didn't sleep that night or the next. My hands kept shaking. I kept seeing the boy's face in every reflection. But the worst part, that wasn't the end. Because the next night, in a cheap motel in Arizona, it happened again. I was brushing my teeth when I heard it. 3 knocks, slow, on the bathroom door. Only I was alone in that room. I turned the knob slowly. The door creaked open. Empty. Except on the mirror, written in what looked like the same black ooze. You were driving. I stumbled back, heart thundering in my ears. My legs gave out. I sat there on the cold tile floor, staring at those words. I didn't remember hitting anyone, but something deep inside me knew it was true. I called my sister. She answered groggy. I asked her, had I ever told her about a kid on the highway? She paused, then whispered, Ahad, you told me years ago that you hit something, a child. You said he followed you. I felt like my chest collapsed, because if that was true, then all of this wasn't just a nightmare. I've been trying to forget, for years, but maybe that's the curse. Maybe remembering is what brings him back. Because now, every night I hear the knocks. Every morning, I find small, muddy footprints near the bed. I see him in the mirror, in the shadows, in places he shouldn't be. I don't drive that road anymore. I don't stop at rest areas. But if you're out there, somewhere along US 93, and you see a pale boy holding a bunny, don't stop. Don't slow down. And whatever you do, don't look him in the eyes, because once you do, he remembers you too. I'd never been one for ghost stories, the kind whispered in late-night diners, or the ones passed around in CB radio chatter like urban legends on wheels. Most of us truckers hear them, but we laugh them off. Sleep deprivation and caffeine, we say. The mind plays tricks when it's been staring at asphalt too long. But there's one road, Route 44 in upstate New York, that I'll never forget. Not because I drove it, but because I shouldn't have. It was a Tuesday morning, early spring. The air was sharp with dew, and the sun hadn't quite burned off the fog. I had just dropped off a refrigerated load near Buffalo and figured I'd take a quiet shortcut toward Ohio. Route 44 was mostly empty that time of day. Trees on both sides stretched tall, lining the road like sentinels guarding something old. I was running low on sleep, so when I spotted a quiet rest stop with 2 trucks already parked, I decided to pull in. The place felt still, too still. There was a single gas station nearby, boarded up, long dead, but one light above the pump flickered in defiance, buzzing softly. The other 2 rigs were parked side by side, silent, curtains drawn, no movement. I eased in next to them, turned off the engine, and reclined my seat. Just a quick break, I thought, maybe 20 minutes. I was just closing my eyes when I noticed something strange stuck under my windshield wiper. At first I thought it was a flyer or receipt, but when I stepped out and grabbed it, I froze. It was a photograph, old, faded, black and white, a family of 3 standing outside a worn-down farmhouse. The parents were smiling, but the little girl in the center, her expression wasn't right. Her face was pale, her dress torn near the hem, and her eyes were pitch black. Not shadows, not just dark. They looked like empty sockets, deep, endless voids staring right through me. I turned the photo over. No writing, no date, nothing. Just the faint scent of burnt wood, like it had been near a fire. I scanned the lot, expecting to see someone nearby. Maybe a prank from another driver. But the other trucks remained still, silent, windows sealed. Nobody moved. It was like they were asleep, or pretending to be. Trying to shake off the unease, I walked into the woods to relieve myself. A few steps into the brush, I heard it. Laughter, a girl's laugh. Light, delicate, but wrong. It echoed in a way laughter shouldn't, almost like it was circling me, slipping between trees. I spun around. Nothing, no birds, no wind, just that one sound. It only lasted a second, but it didn't feel like something I heard. It felt like something that had found me. I ran back to the truck, locked the doors, started the engine. The photograph was gone. I hadn't moved it, hadn't thrown it. It had simply vanished from where I left it on the dash. But something else was there now. Fog had started to crawl in from the trees, thick, heavy, clinging to the ground like it had weight. And on the inside of my windshield, on the inside, someone had written in the condensation, "She remembers you." I jumped back like I'd been burned. My heart was pounding. The engine was still idling, and my keys were in my pocket. There was no one else in the cab. No one could have written that. I drove off, not caring about speed limits or logs. My knuckles turned white on the steering wheel. I drove for hours, not stopping until the fog lifted and the sky turned blue again. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone in that cab. That something, someone, was sitting just behind the curtain of the sleeper, silent. By nightfall, I pulled into a run-down trucker motel outside Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. The kind of place you only stay in when your options run out. The woman at the front desk was old, gray hair pinned tight, eyes cloudy but sharp. She didn't say much when I checked in, but when I gave her my name, she paused. "You were upstate today, weren't you?" she asked. I hesitated. "Yeah, Route 44. Why?" Her lips tightened. "That road remembers things we try to forget," she said, "especially those who don't belong." I stared at her, expecting her to laugh. She didn't. She just handed me the key and looked away. The room was what you'd expect. Sagging mattress, dusty curtains, yellow light flickering overhead. I threw my bag on the bed and sat down, still shaken. I reached into my jacket pocket to grab my phone and found the photograph again. But it wasn't the same. The little girl was still there, but this time there was someone else in the background. A man, blurry, half-shadowed, standing just behind the family. He was tall, wearing what looked like a trucker's cap, and his outline, it looked like mine. I dropped the photo like it had burned me. The air in the room felt heavy, pressing against my chest. That's when I heard it, scratching. Not outside the window, not in the hallway, from the closet. Slow, steady scratching, like fingernails dragging across wood. I walked over, step by step, trying to tell myself it was a mouse. Maybe even a draft. But deep down, I knew. When I opened the closet, it was empty, except for a small wooden box on the floor. I knelt, opened it. Inside were 3 things: the photograph, a lock of blonde hair tied with red thread, and a paper slip with the words, "You took her place." I dropped the box and stumbled out into the night. The motel was dark. The front office locked. No cars in the lot. It was like the place had never existed. I drove until dawn, hands trembling, checking the rearview mirror every 5 seconds. But the worst part came 3 days later, at a truck stop in Indiana. I was washing up in the restroom when I glanced at the mirror, and behind me in the reflection was the girl. Just for a second. Black eyes, blank stare, then gone. From that night on, she started appearing more often. In reflections, in windows, in puddles, never in front of me, always behind, always watching. I started digging. I searched forums, archives, paranormal blogs. Finally, I found something buried deep on an old trucking message board. A thread titled, Route 44, She Rides With You. Story after story from other drivers. All had seen the same girl. All had been marked. Some never posted again. One claimed that after seeing her, his rig locked up on a mountain pass and he barely survived the crash. Another said he stopped dreaming entirely until she started visiting him in his waking hours. The legend called her the black-eyed passenger, a spirit born of grief and fire. Some say she